Welcome back to Bronze League Heroes with 4 times the heroes and infinitely less mathematical skill. A 4 versus 4 on Mementos, the coolest 4v4 map. Let me introduce you to your teams in the Southwest. From the Twi-Lit clan, with one of the edgiest names, Hell is for you. An interesting way of phrasing it. Superhuman. Is he AFK? Nope. Whenever you have someone, for example, who's named, like, I don't know, John. Classic John move. Okay. Phoenix, by the way. And, of course, last but not least, walling off with an engineering bay already. It is none other than John. You already make an orbital and turtle. Moving on. Says Superhuman, who's also a Terran, who's also, well, not really sure how those two work together. Anyways, everybody knows. We'll introduce the other team in a moment, but I just want to lay down a rule. Everybody knows only the bottom 10% and the top 10% are allowed to use their name just as their tag. For those who don't know, like, if you see someone named, like, Mark, or Bob, or John, there's a very good chance they will be building turrets literally minutes before there could be anything for the turrets to shoot at. That is a classic John move. But, the other side of the spectrum, you have players like Jaedong, whose real name, I know it sounds crazy, his real name, Lee Jaedong, or TY, whose name is Tai Yang. So you get, those are the only two you don't see Neeb going around with putting his real name out there, which is of course Thundershaft. He just went with Neeb and, well, oftentimes Neeblit. Anyways, on the other side, we have a counter John. First, let me introduce you to the blue team. Dances from the Echoes clan. Falapak. I don't know why I said it like that. Falapak again. Dan. Just got home from his blue-collar job for some blue mineral work. He sat home, played this Starcraft 2. He enjoyed Brood War back in college when it came out. But nowadays, he likes playing a few 4v4s with his friends, mining 1 out of 3 gas and walling off against his teammate. Just pastimes for Dan. And, of course, Camel Kev. Last but not least. John has really embraced that turtling aspect, raising the TPM, including the sensor towers. Just to make sure. I believe the Overlord successfully evaded it. I'm going to go ahead and try. We'll see if we can use player colors. Try to use player colors. We've got the strong, bright colors for the Southwest team and the more pastels. Player colors are kind of mediocre in StarCraft 2, but if it gets too disjointed, I will go back to team colors. Professional observing tip. Alt-F is the hotkey for those of you wondering in-game. Some cannons. A remarkably passive game, but guess what? It's time for... Gimmick! First blood! Where's my first blood? I don't got it. But... Nope. Oh wait, those are banelings! Ah! The baneling's on the chase, he's trying to lock him in. John has successfully turtled up. I feel like, just like his strategy, every time you say his name or do anything, you just gotta take a quick pause to think about what you're doing and then move on. So John, adding on some siege tanks and expanding while moving one of his workers, and John, he doesn't have many workers, but the ones he does have a lot of work to do. Meanwhile, Dan's also got an engineering bay. You might be like, well, my name's Dan, and I'm barely 42. It's like, well, tell me right now if you don't build an engineering bay before the 3-minute mark, and I'll throw this entire stereotype out. But, for now, it's holding true. Spire on the way. Is that a hive from Dance's? One of the quickest hives. Is this a 1-base hive? He's got a very quick, about the quickest hive you could possibly get. Meanwhile, the triple forge action, like, the beauty of 4v4 is the explosion of action that will happen at some point between, well, sometimes the players will cheese. There are only two options, hyper cheese or hyper macro. Everybody knows 4v4 is for players who want to feel like they're playing real Starcraft, but not have the pressure of 1v1. Therefore, either you decide with a team like, we're going to cheese people tonight, and I'm only on my second bottle of whiskey, or we're going to macro and we're playing real multiplayer. Why am I insulting, like, most of my demographic right now? Angry coaches for that. I do apologize, temporarily. Sorry, Dan. Sorry, John. Sorry, Mark. Sorry, Chris. Sorry, Matt. All of which we have seen in Bronze League Heroes. What? He just detonated a baneling to kill a changeling. That is something that happened. Meanwhile, that medevac dies, but can we... And this, like, we're already... This is a world of firsts. Okay. I don't believe I've ever seen that. But, there's a... Wow, that's a lot of cannons. The production tab is just as full with action as the map isn't. Ultralisk Cavern, Adrenal Glands, Mortar Depths, triple upgrades, double upgrades for Dan, and a planetary in his main. A couple mutas in the mix, joining a bunch of other mutas for Camel Cat. On the red side, we've got battle cruisers, Yamato cannon, triple upgrades as well, a Nidus network, a bunch of pylons. Eventually, we will build Stargates to use these air weapons, but I don't believe he has any as of yet. Yes, Stargate Command is coming online, and right next to it will be the starports as well. The Protoss and Terran Alliance coming together nicely. This game is shaping up to be an action-packed one, but it's shaping very slowly. I actually am very excited to see how this ends. Widowmine takes a Stalker and takes a Dirt Nap. Though that's kind of how Widowmines work, but an even deeper Dirt Nap. A small attack here. Widowmine, massive chunk of Zerglings. Whole bunch of Banelings as well. Working their way through. This is a planetary with many. This is a well-entrenched position here, is the summary. Most of these positions are incredibly well-entrenched. There's turrets and planetaries and wow! Ultra Nidus! Now, of all the things, this is quite a wild card. Ultra Nidus could either be a complete and utter waste of a huge amount of money, or the most, we're gonna, what? Wait, there's a Nidus from the red team. The red team is Nidusing. Is there anything in the Nidus? No, he's Nidusing. Wait, oh! Ah! What is happening? What is going on? This is from the blue team. The blue... What? Is there some sort of, like, cabal of Nidus networks where they all get together? Like, on the dark Nidus web or something? I don't... And neither of them have units in them, the bait and switch. And neither of them know where the other one is. So this, anyways, those exist. Meanwhile, the rocks are getting taken down. A gateway-based, but strong Protoss army from Falla Park is moving into the red base. A whole lot comes to counter it. Banelings, Hydras, Void Rays, oh my! The Hydra's trying to micro, a critical mistake, but they will rip through the Banelings. A battle cruiser is there as well. The fleet was called in, and the battle cruisers blink out. Wait, did I say battle cruisers? Stalkers blink out. Though battle cruisers can blink, which is hilarious. Ah! There's quite a traffic jam for dances. Wait, okay, wait. So this is the Blue Nidus, which goes here for this base here. Meanwhile, Mutas striking into Superhuman's base. The ground Protoss army going to be obliterated for Falla Park. The Muta's doing a lot of damage. Dances. That's an Ultra Nidus. There's a lot in there. That's carrying a heavy load. Sending Vix Vapor Rub in order to clear the Nidus worms and open up the passageways. And then maybe also Vikings to, I don't know, because of course we're making Vikings. Meanwhile, the Ultralisks are out, and these will actually do some damage. Wait, do they have chitinous plating? They do. These are Usain Ultralisks over here with 2-1, but there's far too much. Oh, that's not the greatest way to use mutas, but there's not enough Widow Mines to deal with this. A lot of muta micro going down. The Ultras have been cleaned up. About everything that could possibly counter Ultras has been brought to bear. The muta's still going to work, but the Vix are back. The battle cruisers, what kind of upgrades do they have? 2-2. But the Marines are going to Yamato the Benefax, which is a thing you can do. The Marines are on the run. They're going to try to fight heads up. They might even kill this one Void Ray. So it's going to come down to the sky. It always does in these 4v4s. You wait long enough, it's going to be battle cruisers and carriers, and maybe you get some Zerg units in there that aren't mutas, but unlikely. The blue team is much more aggressive here. They have a much more ground-based army. We've got the straight-up gateway toss from Falla Park. We've got this base here from Camel Kev, who's, well, he's been going for mutas, but those aren't the most hardy units. We have Dan. We have Dances going for the Ultra Nidus. Scan. Will his teammates respond? Oh, the Vendaya scan from John and Superhuman. Meanwhile, the standoff continues. There's a non-aggression pact between the Nidus networks. Do the Protoss abide by it? Apparently, yes. A mothership is on the way for Hell is for You. What a name. Once again, that's a lot of Void Rays. This is possibly the most Bronze League Heroes late game army we could possibly have. We got Viking, we got Vix, we got Battle Cruisers, we got Void Rays, and we have John. On the other side is Stalkers, and then also, if you didn't forget, more Stalkers. He has 60 Stalkers and 60 probes and 0 fucks, and that's the total count at the end of the census for Falla Park. Those Stalkers have 2-2-2 going on 3-3-3 upgrades, and the Medivacs are there for moral support. Thank you, Dan. Meanwhile, Mutas versus... So Muta's not bad against Void Rays, but that's a lot of Void Rays. What kind of upgrades? Oh, here comes Dan with Marines. Even a Raven in the mix. Is he going to Dorito Dust the anti-armor missile? Meanwhile, the Stalkers are moving in. 0 to 100. Parasitic Bomb. Parasitic Bomb. Parasitic Bomb. Doing terrible, terrible damage. The Marines stem to win. Terran as he's underneath. Meanwhile, the Stalkers trying to fight Hydras, which on paper they don't beat. But when he blunts all over them, it's unclear who's going to win. The Vix hit the deck. Pretty good against Stalkers, and the Hydras are doing a lot of damage simultaneously. He blinks to the back, Falla Park. His Stalkers being eviscerated, but they're still holding their ground for now with those 3-3-3 upgrades. Dan comes up against the battle cruisers, something they're not as easily going to shoot down. Parasitic Bomb joining into the fray. Falla Park will be cleaned up, but it took the efforts of 2 players to do it. Same on the other side. The Parasitic, he jumps! Where? Oh, wow, we won't stop here. Superhuman decides he's not done. He wants the combos to continue. Falla Park. Most of his Stalkers still... Well, actually, those aren't Stalkers. Those are Zerglings getting into the fray. Are there still a bunch of Ultras? There are Ultras. Is there anything in the Nidus? Nothing in the Nidus. Nothing caught in limbo right now. It's all out on the field. Meanwhile, the Vikings are on the ground. The Mutas will kill them. A very sad state of affairs. Scanning isn't going to solve that problem. Meanwhile, Parasitic Bomb doing real damage. It doesn't stack, but the amount of Parasitic Bombs is getting a little out of hand. And they jumped in, which means for quite a while they cannot jump out. The Mutas going to work. Medivacs are taking a very dangerous path. Is there another Parabomb? He throws it out, and Dan with the plays! Move over, Shakespeare! Dan is taking it, winning the Tonys. The Tonys are the one with the plays, right? Going to Broadway, like he said he would take his wife. He's taken her to so many football games. He said, okay, I guess we'll go to Broadway. I'm just stereotyping. Meanwhile, Widowmines are a pretty hard counter to Dan. Not enough, though. He's got Marines. He's got Medivacs. And he has enough of them. The Mutas are going to complement. The red team struggling. Corruptors are the next on the mono battle list. Dan, though, the unsung hero, even though he's been to Broadway and has been singing show tunes for too goddamn long. Please stop, Dan. Nobody wants to hear it. You're off key, but you've got the key to unlock potentially a victory. The Ultras are trying their best. Oh, the escape Nidus! The Nidus Cabal. Why are there always two Niduses? You can't explain that. There's a red Nidus, there's a blue Nidus. There must always be two. Why, though? I don't. On today's episode of Will It Burn? The answer is yes, it will burn. The battlecruisers jump back. More Niduses. I'm not sure where. Zerglings. Oh, Banelings. Great Comet. Carriers. Cannons. And no Warp Gate, because that's an overrated upgrade. Carriers have arrived. Ultras. Oh, God. Eats up gobbles up a bunch of Banes, but the units lost is a mess. How many Ultras have been lost? 15 Ultras. And there's one Nidus, but where's this? There's always two. There must always be two. All right, it's not a story that a Bronze Leaker would tell you. There's a pylon back here, by the way, in case that ends up being a factor. The gold base established by Dan. John is holding strong. A Nidus? No, not a Nidus. Not a Nidus. Okay. Camel Kev really trying to make these Mutas work. It's been a struggle. The Ultras will pop out. Dan gonna try to fight the Interceptors heads up. The Interceptor count is too damn high. And Dan will be forced to retreat. Hell is for you. Oh, Spine Crawler on Pylon Crime. Not seen often, but always very, very devastating to watch those two buildings fight it out. Especially since for years now the Pylon hasn't fought back. Another set of Baneling. The Ultras, they tried once. It didn't pan out. Maybe they'll try again. This time he brought more friends. They're all going to die, but they will get the Planetary of John. Down it goes. Meanwhile, Zerglings clean up this base as well. The Vikings hit the deck, and the Ultras are obliterated. Meanwhile, the Mutas are here. The Mutas, well, not many of them are going to live through this. They're still huge. We're mono battling 74 fully upgraded Stalkers. And that's a whole lot of battlecruisers. How many battlecruisers is that? 14. Another Nidus. And another Nidus. There must always be two. Nidus 1 and Nidus 2. The mothership is a little out of position. It's gonna get gunned down immediately. A whole bunch of Stalkers and Marines. They're underneath that Parasitic Bomb. The Wombo combo. It's a disaster for the carriers. But there's just so goddamn many Interceptors. They can't all die. Another Parasitic Bomb in the midst of them. Meanwhile, the Zerglings are going for the heart of the swarm. They're gonna get it. The carriers are holding. Oh, the battlecruisers jump into the fray. Reinforcements have arrived, and they will turn the tides. Another parasitic bomb dances, throws it into the mix. The stalkers are underneath. They're doing their best. It's unclear who's going to come out on top. Meanwhile, the Zerglings are being chased down at the back. More reinforcements for both sides. The battle escalates. More parasitic bombs. More marines. More stalkers. The battlecruisers look like they're going to win the day, but it is by no means a decisive victory. Where do these Vipers keep coming from? He's got like a revolving door of Vipers. I don't... That is his entire contribution. There's more. Another round of stalkers. He jumped in. He can't jump out. And here's the rest. Mutas and Corruptors. The Niduses, the Cabal will leave the Niduses untouched. Phoenix is breaking with custom. Blasphemy. Oh, what did I just see? Did the Ultras just go right through that? Phasing through. And now no Nidus is safe. That was the last bastion of Parley. But no. The Corruptor, Muta, Stalker, Corruptor, Ultra, Blink. I don't know what the upgrades are. He's going to fight, but he has less units, so that's going to be tough. Camel Kev, he's got 3-3 in the skies. Meanwhile, only +1 air for, I don't even know, Phoenix is the only Zerg on the red team. The red team seems overall to be struggling. John rocking out at 29 supply. He's got a grand total of 9 SCVs, which is less than he started with. Phoenix is at 45, but the other player's over 100, whereas all 4 blue players, all 4, are over 100 supply. In fact, Dan and Camel Kev over 150, and Camel Kev at 169. Nice. A Nidus? Wait, Phoenix is going deep in the paint. Wait, but what does he even have in a Nidus? He's just Nidusing. For the sake of Nidus. Okay, good. We'll worry about that later. Meanwhile, 1 Zergling. Yeah. Deal with that. He sees the network. He looks it in its eyes. Meanwhile, massacre! These tanks with so many kills. Most of them Ultras, but some Zerglings. Dan has a ton of supply. Battle cruisers? Wait, there's swarm hosts! Where the battle cruisers jumped into a whole bunch of turrets, but the turrets stand no chance. It's escalating! Things are escalating! The Nidus is inside. Oh, the Ultras come back out, but they're walled off! The Ultraless cavern dies, so the Ultras can get through. Everybody comes back. The battle cruisers take out the gold. The gold has been claimed by the Sky Toss player. Hell is for you. Superhuman and hell is for you. That's a whole lot of Terran. 2 planetary fortresses. They're being target fired. The planetaries racking up so many kills. Oh no, he right-clicked, and most of the Marines are just doing a musical dance. The mothership, it could save the planetary. Dan's Marines are all massacred. But here come the reinforcements, diving directly on the mothership. Ultras underneath don't give a singular fuck. Corruptors try to target down carriers. They have incredible upgrades. Zerglings on the side. Ultras chopping through drones. The swarm host. Here's some stalkers, everybody. You forgot about them. The battle cruisers, Corruptors, battle cruisers, planetary, Vipers. Swarm hosts on cooldown. Parasitic bomb. Ultras falling apart. Stalkers blunk forward. Ultras on the other side. Reinforcements. More Vipers. More Marines. Half a dozen barracks. The planetary finally falls. Battle cruisers jump on top of the Stalkers. I don't know. This might be the turning point. Battle cruisers. More Vipers. The Viper control has actually been pretty impressive throughout this. Most of the battle cruisers gonna go down. The Ultras chopping through the economy. The El Chapo discs. Everyone has to retreat. More battle cruisers, but the Stalkers have such great up. Oh, the Nidus! Not the Nidus, the Swarm host. Interceptors are being rebuilt. Workers being eviscerated. This base has a handful of cannons, but that's about it. The Stalkers are on the chase. They're blunking all over the place. The Chopolisks have gone through the entire right side on their own. Oh, Yamato Cannon knocks one of the Stalkers. Another Nidus. There must always be two. Where is the second? Where is the Cabal? It's falling apart under this. Oh, wait. No, that's Dance's Nidus, I think. I'm not sure. But the Nidus will pop. Who's it? I got a compliment. Oh my god, the Ultras. 60 and 38 kills. 100 kills on the Ultra. They're keeping them in the entirety of this game. These Ultras are the game. They are putting the sizable weight they can carry onto their backs. These. Oh wait, can they beat four? Can 2 Ultras beat 4 Ultras? That's a bit of a tall order. Oh, he comes. Oh, he says, "No, I'm sorry, Billy. I couldn't be there for you, but I will live in your honor to avenge you." And he ducks his head in and micros out. What a play! Another planetary. The interceptors have recharged. The last stand of the red team. The battle cruisers in full repair. Parasitic Bomb doing a good job, but there are so many interceptors. Another wait, no, that Viper. Oh, he nailed the Parabomb. The battle cruisers doing their best. The Stalkers fighting it out. The air units, but Locusts come in to cover. The carriers must survive. All sides losing so much supply. Meanwhile, long-distance mining has been happening for who knows how long. At 2 Ultras, Dance is trying his hand at the 2 Ultra hit squad. The 70-kill Ultra still has full HP. Battle cruisers trying to take down Ultras. They're shrugging it off, but they can only shrug so much before they run out of emoji characters. And the carriers as well. Like a swarm of bees. And everybody calms down. Some more Stalkers trying to come in, but everybody's spent. Exhausted. Battered. Bruised. Mentally, physically, emotionally. Minerals are running sparse throughout this map. Neither side still with a decisive advantage. Dances has a whole lot of Ultras, but the rest of his team combined has barely 100 supply. There's still carriers and battle cruisers. Nobody, there's only one player. Dances has a bunch of minerals and gas. He might send to his team, but does he trust them? After 215 Stalkers and 404, but no more Marines found. The Ultra's looking, oh my god. This is a bountiful harvest. The Widow Mines are going to be annoying, but not nearly enough. The tanks on the high ground for John have been here the entire game. Dance's Ultras are chopping through what's left of the economy. There is none. Look at the incomes. 0, 0. 0 gas for all but 1 player. 0 minerals for 3. Not over 1,000, not even 1 base of income. 1 base of income's like 1,500. Dan and Camel Kev will sit side by side and try to defend the last gold base. The time of plenty is over. The time of scarcity. And fighting over those last resources left. Carriers are a rich man's unit. A man, he can't refill all his interceptors. In fact, he can only refill a handful of them. Every interceptor he loses now is gone pretty much forever because he's barely mining. Camel Kev will lose all his mutas for the last... Nope. Gotta drop soon. John. So John, he had at least 30 minutes to play, but for him, that is only half of a normal game. So that's why at the beginning, if you remember, John was like, I might not be able to play this one out. And even now, we might see. We might live to see John die. The Marines stim in for the tank. There's no way to know that there would be more tanks on the high ground. The carriers ripping through. Is there anything to stop them? 11 carriers. The anti-air is a dozen Stalkers. A few Vipers. Ultralist to cover. The Vipers can eventually chip them down. But on paper, there's 88 interceptors. They might not realize that just killing the interceptors is potentially just enough. The Viper control has been top-notch for Dances. Like, these are perfect parasitic bombs. They don't get better than that. He is doing maximum damage. The carriers are dying to parasitic. He's not splitting. He has 2 more Vipers. In fact, he might lose a couple. Oh my God! Now is the time. Now is the time. Now is the time. Where are the Vipers? He's fighting in the center. Dances is sending his ultras. Now is the time. There's a bunker here. The base trade has begun. Is there anything at home? Dances, he's been so great on those Vipers. He only needs a couple more parabombs. The interceptor count is still high. If those Vipers die, I don't know if the carriers can be stopped. Dances has money in the bank, but he's watching his ultras. All there are John's. Oh God, the Viper. He's microwing. He's microwing. He built. Oh, the Viper. Oh, another one. But the shields have regenerated. He's waited too long. The ultras are chopping through. Definitely a trend in this match. Oh wait, is it enough? He gets a carrier. One more. One more. He goes for the center. Oh, a beautiful parabomb and the corruptors to boot. But it's not enough to kill them all. 5 carriers. We're in a full-on base trade. The Ultralists are chopping through. There's a chance that Superhuman and John do not know they can lift their buildings. They might have to break the shell of John, well known for his turtliness. John, inspired by his teammate, has been turtling in his main the entirety of this match, and he might be the last man standing. The carriers all bruised. The interceptors essentially irreplaceable. Oh, he dodges out. The queens are saved by the Nidus. He rebuilt his lair. Dances is now a refugee. But only 1G for now, as neither side is committed to typing 2. Oh, but Marines from Superhuman. Marines have joined the field. Is this the last Nidus? The queens pop out into a world of death. The carriers, the Marines, Superhuman has 89 supply. Dan has 6, Camelkev 8. It's unclear. There are still ultras that could potentially come home. The carriers are going for the bases. The carriers are the final boss here. Dances has money he could give to his teammates. Dan has money because he works 9 to 5 and he just wants to come home and relax. People have not rebuilt their bases because they do not have the resources with which to do so. Buildings are dying on both sides. The last stand. Oh, come on. The legacy of John? Are you kidding me? And this is why the penultimate Bronze League hero, on the high ground, with a double depot wall, siege tanks that have not moved since they sieged half an hour ago. Vikings on the deck. John, the last bastion of the red team. As the Marines are working their way through, Overlords and Barracks are not the strongest units. John holds. John is the last man standing. Well, Turtle, John, describes the situation very well. John has spent this whole game. Good job. His teammates coming in with the moral support. Are those are queens, burrowed. Yes, those are queens. John using correct punctuation, a classic John move. He doesn't spend 2 to 3 minutes revising each of his corporate emails just to have poor punctuation while he's playing Starcraft. Widow Mines. So, in a dramatic turn of events, John is the supply leader. Not only of the supply chain, but of this entire game. There are barracks, a command center. Dan has not rebuilt his base. Now we can just count who has. Superhuman and Phoenix. Dances has money in the bank. If they could combine their resources, Dances has minerals. Dan has Vespine gas. Falapark has a little of both, and Camelkev has a dream. That's all we have left. But they might not. Drones are attacking. This could take a while. John. John stands. Well, more like sits, encircled by a very hard shell. But the thing is, all they need to do is kill the blue buildings. The carriers are essentially unbeatable at this point. I mean, actually, there's still 12 stalkers, which... the carriers have been killing buildings. The blue team is desperately trying to put things together. Dan's base is being cleaned up. The carriers will eventually get it done. The carriers are the strong arm of the red team, whereas John is the backbone. Or maybe just a wall. Just like just a wall that everybody leans on. And Ultralists come up against and are broken. SCV is not the greatest counter to Whittle Mines. Overlords in their safety corner, realizing that they do not have too many common interests. So, the Overlords can be used to bait out the... There might be one last assault. Dances tries to re-expand to his main, more of a sentimental thing. John exclaims, and then, to everyone, repeats himself after trying it on and liking how it tasted. You get him, John. You get him, John. The hero. Not the hero we deserve, but the hero the red team needed. The Stalkers are in the main. Where are the Ultras? Dances is rebuilding. He needs the gas from his teammates, or he needs some queens. The Stalkers are boxed in. Here come the open gate. Yes, the gate's open. The Stalkers will get maybe one carrier. One. Open the gate. Now here's the beautiful part. Is Superhuman is also a Terran. That's it. John holds. John has done it. 3 blue players are out of it. I don't know who's left, but they can't quite believe it. Whoever's still left. No, actually there are still 2. Wait, no. And now John. No, wait. Yeah, Superhuman is upgrading. Oh. He's building armor, but those are they're gonna fight till the very, very end. Oh, all the resources went to Dan! All the resources went to Dan. But unfortunately, Dan has 0 supply. But he's controlling his former teammates. Dan has assumed control. It's Dan versus the world. Dan versus John. At the beginning of the game, did you say Dan versus John is who we should be watching? Those are the players who are going to come in the clutch. All right, because they probably drive manual because they're old-fashioned and don't care about gas mileage. Dan versus John to end it all. The Ultras, the Chopalisks of dances. Through the hand of Dan. Dan's hand. Handy Dan's Dan hand. He's trying to rebuild, but Ultras do not counter carriers, no matter. John has not moved. John is rocking out at a grand total of, I don't know which player, well, he's at 0 APM. He's averaged 36 throughout this match, but just enough. Oh no, the base has been spotted. It's not like you need to mine. You have the resources. If you could just live long enough. But how are you going to stop the carriers? You're not. The carriers have arrived and the carriers have survived. There's only 40 interceptors left. He can't build really anymore. The last stand. The Ultras into the breach. Once more. And against the shell of John, they break. Their chitin is plating. No match. John. For Locust. He feels trapped. He tries to restart the tech. Impressive that Dan has experience with Zerg technology. Locust, Fala Park's buildings have been eliminated. Dan will fight till the very bitter end because he only plays one game per week and might as well make it a good one. Damn, Daniel. No, it's just Dan. On his birth certificate, it just says Dan, okay? His mother was new-fashioned. Is this the end? He tries to run. Don't do it, Dan. It's over, Dan. The red team wins. Let me read off a memorial with in the yellow. We had dances. Losing 36,812 resources, 71 drowned, 44 Zerglings, 20 Overlords, 5 Overseers, 6 Corruptors, 38 Ultralisks, 7 Vipers, and 11 Queens. Fala Park, sticking with his gun, 63 Probes, 1 Observer, 10 Adepts, 227 Stalkers. Dan, with 52 SCVs, 35 medevacs, 2 tanks, 450 marines, and 2 ravens. And Camel Kev, 62 drones, 484 zerglings, 20 overlords, an overseer, 97 mutalisks, 14 corruptors, and a singular queen. And on the other side, the victorious team, but sacrifices were made. Starting from the top. Superhuman, 74 SCVs, 1 medevac, 1 tank, 185 marines, 36 battle cruisers. We had Hell is for You, 496 interceptors, 80 probes, 2 observers, 36 carriers, 28 void rays, 2 motherships. Also Phoenix, 58 drones, 210 zerglings, 60 hydralisks, 12 overlords and overseer, 8 mains, 25 corruptors, 6 swarm hosts, 3 ultras, 2 queens, and the victor, the turtle, the last bastion of the red team, John, with 27 Widowmans, 21 SCVs, 35 Vikings, 8 siege tanks, 14 marines, and an average of 34 actions per minute. The red team is victorious. The red team takes it home after 41 minutes. The red team believe they inspired John and he led them to victory. Did you enjoy this? Does John versus Dan deserve a rematch? Like, subscribe, ring the bell, all those things. Are more heroes better than less? Just like units on the field. Did you expect John versus Dan to be the epic showdown that it was? And did you truly believe that when you signed up for 40 plus minutes, you'd be witnessing one of the best Bronze League heroes? Thank you, John. Thank you, Dan. And thank you to the other 6 players. What a game.
Hell, it's about time.